Okay, now let's look at what are the criteria for preparing a good presentational aid. Number one, your presentational aid should only have important ideas, which means it should only reinforce the important ideas. Don't have paragraphs after paragraphs in your slide, because, or in your presentation, especially in your slide, because then you would tend to actually read. So only put in important ideas that could reinforce the points that could help your audience to actually understand better. And then you want to use a presentational aid that could actually enhance your audience understanding. If a video could actually help what you're trying to say, then use a video clip. If you think that a picture could actually enhance, then make sure you use pictures, okay, to together with what your presentation, okay, that could actually help your audience to pay attention and understand what you're trying to say. Or if even if you need to present statistic graphs, then put in that in your presentation aid. All right. Next is make sure that your presentation aid must supplement, as in must support what you're trying to say. Okay, it cannot replace, overshadow, or distract. What do I mean is that what I said earlier, when you have paragraphs after paragraphs, it overshadows your speech. Your audience would tend to want to read the paragraph instead of listening to what you're trying to say. So they don't focus on you, they focus on reading the slide. Okay, that causes distraction. Next, you must make sure that if you put pictures or if you play audio, make sure it can be seen or can be heard throughout the room, okay, from the front to the back, okay, and every corners of the room. And then remember that presentation aids are meant to actually help you with your speech. It is not to replace. So you must make sure that only important points, only things that you want to help with the understanding of your audience are placed in the presentational aid. Now let's look at how do we prepare an effective presentational aid. Number one, as I mentioned, limit the reading required. So don't have paragraphs. Okay, if you need to put pictures, make sure it is not pixelated, it is easily seen. If you have video clips or audio clips, then make sure the volume and sound quality can be heard easily. Make sure you have a standard print style. Don't have a very unorganized style. First you have Times New Roman and then you have Arial. It is very difficult for the audience to read. Make sure a consistent. If you want to use Times New Roman and Arial, then make sure all the slides have that consistent print style. Okay. Next, make sure that you leave enough white space. What do I mean? Don't cramp your presentational aid with lots and lots of words, pictures, and it's so cramped up that your audience find it confusing or difficult or is not pleasing for their eye. Okay, make sure that there's enough white space. If you need to add pictures or symbols, then add interest. Colors, make sure you contrast the colors. If you use a black background, then what color contrasts with it, you need to know that. And then make sure if you take materials from other sources, make sure you customize, paraphrase, do not copy paste, so that it means that it is yours and it's not someone else. Okay. Alright, now what are the guidelines to use presentational aid during your speech? Okay, now you have prepared, now you want to use it. What are the guidelines? Alright, number one, you need to plan when to use your presentational aid. Alright, number two, you need to make sure that the presentation aid can be seen by everyone, which means you position it accordingly. Only show or play the presentation aid when you're talking about them. And then make sure you talk to your audience and not to the presentational aid. Okay, you tend to talk to the presentation aid if you put paragraphs, because you end up reading it, you're not looking at your audience. Okay, and make sure whatever you display can be seen by everyone in the audience. Okay, and finally, avoid passing object. If you have models or objects that you bring, then don't pass it during your speech, because then that causes distraction. Avoid doing that. Okay, maybe at the end of the presentation you can pass the object so that the audience can actually really hold, feel and touch and whatnot. But before that, just show it to them and then continue with the presentation. Because if you start passing, the audience will start passing the object. It causes a distraction. They will not focus on you. They'll be focusing on the passing object. Okay? Okay, so this is the end of the presentation. We'll further discuss in class about this topic. Thank you very much.